Hi, I'm Renee, and you're watching Classical Commentary.
Fazioli Pianoforte is a piano manufacturing company based in Sacile, Italy. Fazioli pianos have gained international praise for their rich tone, feather-like touch, and attention to detail. Since 1981, Fazioli has made an enormous impact on the industry, producing a line of perfectly balanced pianos, expertly handcrafted with elite precision. Each piano is individually approved by Fazioli's founder, Paolo Fazioli, before ever leaving the factory.
You are watching Classical Commentary. I'm your host, Renee. Today's episode takes place in Vancouver, Canada. We are speaking with Manuel Bernaschek, president of Showcase Pianos. Thank you so much for being on today's program.
No problem. Thank you for coming.
So Showcase Pianos specializes in the Fazioli, which is a very unique type of instrument. How did you get into that?
I had been selling pianos for some time, and all of a sudden we started hearing about some great pianists who were no longer interested in playing that very traditional, famous brand of pianos, and were leaving to play on this Fazioli piano. And at that time we were all so curious. We're like, what is this? Why are people leaving from this other brand? And any research that we did on this Fazioli piano showed that people said it was absolutely amazing. It was so much beyond what any other piano had been able to do up until this day. So I was really curious.
Now Fazioli, in terms of reputable pianos, it's kind of the new kid on the block. It's only been around for about 40 years.
Yeah, about that, 45 years. Yeah.
Right. You are one of the main reasons why here in Western Canada we have access to Fazioli, and you're a major dealer of this particular instrument. Why were you willing to take such a big risk in bringing these relatively unknown pianos to Canada?
I felt Vancouver had the right demographic for people that would be interested in this kind of piano, in that it has people that have enough money to pay for this sort of thing, and it has a lot of people that are interested in piano. So there's many excellent piano students, piano performers, and very skilled pianists living in Vancouver, and we thought many of them would be curious to break away from the traditional piano and try something that's so much more inspiring. Especially as more and more people talk about it, they also become curious to try it. And then it's amazing to see people come in, and they almost come in. Some of them come in wanting to prove that it can't possibly be true, and they are there to prove that it can't be better than that brand that they've loved for so many years. And then to see them change as they're playing the piano, you could see something overcome them, and they just overcome by the beauty of the sound and the touch and all that. So
what would you say it is about the Fazioli that sets it apart from other great instruments like Steinway and Fish?
Well, like all of those are great pianos, and whenever somebody is supporting the art of fine piano making, this is something great for that whole industry. But something that sets them apart is that they are using finer quality materials, and then they're there's higher level of workmanship, so they're spending much more time on it. So it probably takes 3 times longer to build a Fazioli than it does those other brands. But we're still fans of those other brands, but then of course this is something that in my mind is far beyond. So a couple of examples that I use. One is the spruce soundboard. So all pianos use spruce soundboard, but the Fazioli uses a red spruce, which is a special type of spruce grain, and then they get their wood from the Val di Fiemme forest in northern Italy, which is a protected forest, and traditionally that's where Antonio Stradivari got the wood for his violins. And then there's a couple of other examples about the how crazy strict they are about everything that they do inside the action. And there's little springs inside the action, and one thing that they do is they test each spring that they use and they don't just assume that they're all equal, and then they arrange them inside the action from least springy to most springy, so that the action is absolutely even as possible. It's just one small example. They have I could talk forever about all these unique examples that you can see in the action and for the sound. And,
So largely the wood, but also action related.
Yeah, well, like how much time you're spending to make it perfect. Like really, when you get the piano from Italy, when they come here, like they're still in tune. Like many pianos, when you open up the box, the piano's all out of tune, and you have to. But here they come, and they're literally performance ready when they arrive.
So high level of craftsmanship. How long does it take to make one Fazioli piano?
So they say between 2,000 to 3,000 man hours. So it's basically 3 years of man hours to make a piano. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But they have 40 people working on it, so So once they're working on it, it's probably just about 3 months to make one. But of course, there's certain woods that have been drying for years before they started using them. So it depends how you add it up. But as far as man hours are concerned, it's about 3,000 man hours.
And on average, how many? Do you know how many are produced here?
They make about 150 a year. Their maximum. These few years, they've been hitting their maximum. They're trying to produce as many as they possibly can without changing the production, because they don't want to lose any quality. So they're sold out until 2025, the spring of 2025, and they don't want to. They're trying to increase as much as they can without changing anything, because they really want to make sure the quality of each one is there.
It's high. If I understand it correctly, the Juilliard School, which is one of the world's greatest institutions, converted to being a Fazioli school.
For 80 years, they had only ever bought Steinways, the New York Steinways. So, and about 10 years ago, they broke away to buy a Fazioli. They broke away from their tradition. So it means they didn't become a Fazioli school because they'd have to replace 100 pianos, right? Or however many pianos are in there, right? But in some key places, they have now purchased Faziolis, which is incredible.
That's no easy feat to.
Yeah, it's an incredible testament to the Fazioli quality, and because if you would only do that if it was something, if you're getting something far beyond what you're already getting, instead of something that's similar or whatever. So I believe that they felt that they were getting something, which was very different, much higher in quality, and obviously on the concert stage, you see the Fazioli a lot also in piano competitions, right? Mm-hmm. So in many recent piano competitions, more than 50% of the competitors or the finalists have been performing on Fazioli. So it's definitely something that needs to be recognized, and then any top school should have at least one of those pianos in their school if they're wanting to prepare students for what's out there.
I had the opportunity to try a Fazioli years and years ago when it was newer on the scene, and I remember telling a colleague that it seemed like it had the quality of like a Bösendorfer kind of a sound, but it had the ability to project for a larger hall like a Steinway.
So with much greater power. So we've had incredible experiences of people that had 9-foot pianos of those other brands that you mentioned, and then changed to a 7-foot Fazioli and felt that the 7-foot Fazioli had greater power than their 9-foot piano. So it definitely has tremendous power. And that's usually what you discover first when you sit down on a Fazioli, is the incredible power and how even it is all the way through. So oftentimes you have great power in the center, in the middle registers, but then as soon as you start to go into the top, you lose a lot of power and you have to put much more effort to get the sound out of there. But in the Fazioli, you feel it all the way, incredible power, all the way to the top end with incredible ease. And oftentimes you find the bass in certain piano brands to be a little bit muddy, and sometimes you don't even hear a distinction between some of the notes. But on the Fazioli, you hear such a clear definition between each note. And sure enough, when you play a Fazioli, you are just taken aback by the incredible power of the instrument. But the real beauty in my mind is how lightly you can play on it and still get all the sounds. So
Yeah, sounds like what most pianists are looking for.
yeah.
So Fazioli has, 9-foot grands, 7-foot grands, baby grands. Are there also student type instruments or instruments that are more suited for somebody at a student level?
Yeah, they haven't made different categories. They're all just one category, their top category. And they're often asked by their dealers if they're going to present something that's like a more basic model and things like that. And maybe they would have considered it in the past, but I think now, because of their incredible success at that level, they're not going to change, because now they're sold out till 2025, so they don't need to make any changes, or at least they can't consider it for now. So they have the 5'2", then they have the 183, which is 6 foot, 212, which is 7 foot, then they have a 228 model, which is 7'6". And I don't know, I think with any of the great brands, you get a piano in that size and it's incredible. But the Fazioli is just something beyond any of those. So for me, in my mind, the 228 Fazioli is the perfection of pianos. If you ever get a chance to play on one, you'll know when you play on it that you've just played such an amazing piano. There's something so perfectly balanced about the bass, the treble, that it just makes you melt. So there's also a 9-foot, which we talk about, and they also make a 10-foot, which is the largest production piano in the world.
Are there any artists in particular that use Fazioli regularly?
Yeah, there's a lot. In the beginning, it was Angela Hewitt, who one day, the story that I heard was that she discovered it. She was in London playing and practicing in the store, and the first Fazioli came in to the store, and it was a 6-footer, and it came in and they put it down, and she played it, and she's like,
"That's the one."
Sent it to my home right away. The movers were still there, and then so she has a place in London. She's also purchased a 9-footer for her place in Toronto and a 10-footer for her place in Italy. So she has now 3 Faziolis.
The whole set.
The whole set, yeah. And other great pianists like Louis Lortie, another great Canadian pianist. Anytime he plays, you're just blown away into his artistry, his genius, and he also owns 3 Faziolis himself. He's a very successful concert pianist. In the jazz world, of course, there's Herbie Hancock, which has even put it in his contract. No Fazioli, no Herbie Hancock, basically. So,
interesting.
So when he came to Vancouver, there was some pressure from my competitor to have him play on their piano, and I thought, well, it's probably over for me. I'm just this tiny little dealer, and he sent back the message, no Fazioli, no Herbie Hancock, and I was like, wow, So anyways, he's a great supporter of Fazioli.
What would you say to somebody who's in the market, shopping for a piano, who's interested in potentially owning a Fazioli?
So I think any Fazioli that you could get is a treasure. To be able to get Faziolis that were made by the man himself. Mr. Fazioli's still alive and still in the factory every day, making sure every piano is perfect. And I don't know. I think it's just any chance you get to get a piano like that is you should take it. I think wherever you are in the world, even if a used one, it's maybe a new one is out of reach. But right now, the demand for Fazioli is so high that even the used ones are a little bit on the expensive side. So. I think it's like a treasure that will appreciate in value. Like when we opened our store in 2007, the 7-footer was $115,000, and now a 7-footer is $195,000. So anybody who would have bought one in those years, like even 5 years later or 10 years later, can still resell it for more than what they paid for it.
You're watching Classical Commentary. We're here with Manuel Bernaschek, president of Showcase Pianos. If you're in the Vancouver area, consider coming down to Showcase Pianos to learn more about Fazioli. You can also visit showcasepianos.com online to learn more about this one-of-a-kind instrument.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Classical Commentary. We'll see you next time, and always remember, great music makes a great day. See you next time.